What if the U.S. government has already bought Bitcoin for the strategic reserve and nobody even noticed? And why are there rumors that the U.S. government was allegedly buying Bitcoin at $60,000 during last week's flash crash? Well, these rumors aren't just coming from Twitter. It's not just coming from Bitcoin Twitter out here. We have a clip for you from the national news talking about this. So let's play the clip and then we'll break down this. We'll break down the clip here.
Do you think that the president is going to fill the Bitcoin reserve?
I don't know. That will
Well, that's
be
what I heard
big
at 60.
deal.
I heard at 60 he's going to fill the Bitcoin reserve. You better cover.
Do you think that Trump is serious about creating this Bitcoin reserve, and how would that work?
I think he is. And, you know, if you think about the Louisiana Purchase, California, and Alaska, we paid $40 million to buy 75% of the United States. Nobody remembers the $40 million. But if you know where the money's going, you should buy the property, buy the future.
All right, you guys saw it. Of course, it is coming from Jim Cramer, which I guess we have to hold our breaths here. But I have been convinced that he is... I don't know exactly how to say it. He is saying what the, how do you say, powers that be want to be known here. I think that's his actual job. So when they say, you know, buy something,
I'm calling it, bro.
You're doubling down. You're doubling down.
I'm calling it. Could you share the screen?
Yeah. All right. Let me pull everything up. Okay. So first off,
I'm calling it.
Here's the
Could
tweet.
You zoom in a little bit.
Here's the tweet. Yeah. You want to take it from here, Nico?
No. I'm gonna pass it back on to you. I just want to say my bit, and then I'll jump back in. But here it is, guys. Here's the TLDR. This was a picture from Ivanka Trump's Instagram. And as you could see on the right-hand side of that picture, there's our boy, Michael Saylor, right?
Yeah, what an autism in this picture.
That's not Photoshopped. That is from her story. And I actually got this message from someone who worked in kind of Fortune 500 companies, and he's been telling me the same message for the last year or so. And I'll break it down like this. I think there is a high probability that by the end of Trump's term, they're going to announce that the United States government has been buying Bitcoin for the reserves. This is why Saylor is always around the Trump family. This is why Saylor went to Mar-a-Lago. This is why Saylor is whining and dining. This is what it's all about. All right. And remember, every single pump we had last year was essentially cut short when Trump would go on X or go on Truth Social and basically say, hey, actually, there's a tariff, and that would cause the price to crash like 50 to 60 to 70%, right? Every single time. It was like horrific crashes, right? And then you connect the dots with Howard Lutnick. Howard Lutnick famously went on the Anthony Pompliano podcast and was basically saying, like, look, every time there's a dip, you know, I'm going to be buying tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, right? Howard Lutnick is the head of commerce, I believe, in the
isn't he? Yeah.
It's commerce.
Right. Yeah.
Commerce. So if you put these pieces together, they're all incentivized for number go up. They all have very big bags, right? And I bet you that there's conversations that are happening behind the scenes that we are not privy to, right? But they're all incentivized for number to go up. How does number go up? What is the biggest catalyst that can happen for number to go up? The United States government announcing that not only have they established a strategic Bitcoin reserve, but they're actively accumulating Bitcoin. That's the massive catalyst. That is the huge catalyst. And between, we've been more right than we've been wrong on this show. Like 85 to 90% of our call outs have been right. It's just a 6-month delay, right? It's a 6-month delay. And I'm calling it right there. When you see an Instagram story like that, like it's not just, things just don't happen in coincidence like that, right? Like, why is he there? Why are they having that conversation? Do you think he's just there to like socialize and have conversations? No, he's there for one specific reason. What is the one specific reason? The Trump family's there. Who's in office? Who is part of the administration? Donald Trump. Who has the 6th largest Bitcoin treasury company? Donald Trump. Whose sons and family are heavily involved in the Bitcoin industry? Donald Trump. Who's the president of the United States? Donald Trump. His commerce secretary. What about him? He's literally saying he's buying tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. What is he saying? Right? You saw him getting interviewed in a Senate committee last week, and he's literally basically saying how the importance of the Clarity Act getting passed, and the person who's asking him this question is Senator Cynthia Lummis, right? Like, this is speculation, but it's also not rocket science, right? It's very clear what's happening here. And I think you could make a very strong argument that what happened in 2025 was essentially them not wanting the Bitcoin price to go up so that they can accumulate cheap, right? And if you take a look at some of the volume, no, pure hopium, no, I'm calling it. Like, this is what's happening. Like, this is what's happening in the background. I'm telling you, like, this is what's happening. Like, this is literally what's happening. This
well,
is
let me connect some more dots here, because there is some interesting stuff, and I will bring in the charts and well, I'm not gonna like TA for you guys, but we got to remember. Look, so we have, the screenshot here. This is from her official Twitter account. Obviously, Sailor is in the background, just being Sailor, lol. But you got to remember, he did just do the MicroStrategy shareholder meeting, and he was in a hotel room. And you got to remember, what was the opening frame in that shareholder meeting? Do you remember, Nico? Do you remember what the opening frame was for this shareholder meeting? Oh, dude, did it just reset on me? Hold on. My Twitter just reset on me. Here we go. Here is the opening frame for the shareholder meeting for the MicroStrategy, what's it? Year review or whatever. Literally, the first slide was about Donald Trump being the Bitcoin president, his intent of making America the Bitcoin superpower, crypto capital of the world, the leader in digital assets. And you can see here, he's not in his usual, Giga Mansion here. He was at that specific hotel. So he's literally at that hotel doing a shareholder meeting saying, hey, Trump's the Bitcoin president of the world. Then he gets caught at the Ivanka Trump, whatever that was. Who knows? I don't even know what it was. And Nico and I have been saying for a little bit that this is most likely what's going on. If you are a nation state out there and you're saying, hey, we want to do this, I don't think, and again, I don't know the legalities of this, so maybe Nico can clarify some of this more political stuff here. But just from a Bitcoiner's perspective, you may announce that you're going to be buying Bitcoin, but you don't actually announce when you're buying that Bitcoin. Now, again, there might be some legalities of them actually having to announce these buys. I'm not the most versed on this, but the coincidences, Nico shaking his head.
Legality, my ball sack. Look, they're waiting. They're literally waiting till they have their bags packed.
That's my point.
And
that's the smartest move to do.
They're just going to come out and say, hey, we've actually been accumulating. That's literally what's
Let's go.
Happen.
I'm all for
That's
that, I guess.
literally what's going to happen.
All right. Let's go to the Coinbase Premium. Here is the end screen here. This is what everyone is pointing at. Obviously, we all know last week the price dumped. And you can see the Bitcoin Coinbase Premium Index. The price is in, I don't even know what this is, black. Coinbase Premium Index. You can see it has been skyrocketing. So someone is definitely in the market right now, scooping it up. Now, going back to the clip, I know a lot of Bitcoiners do not like Jim Cramer because we always joke the inverse Cramer is probably the best way to make the most money possible. If Cramer says something, he's most likely, you know, what is it, exit liquidity out here. He's most likely telling the market what his how do you say it? I don't want to say handlers here, but what the elites want him to say. And he'd be like, hey, you know, you should buy this, because they want the average person to buy it because they want exit liquidity. Now, it is interesting that he is saying that the U.S. government is buying Bitcoin, that he is hearing credible speculation that they bought the 60K dip. Now, I don't think that the Trump administration would want him to necessarily say that, but it is very interesting that Cramer is saying this on, you know, what's it, CNBC or what's it, Mad Money or whatever. Bro, but I also believe, before you go, I also believe they've been buying.
Bro, it's not rocket science. It's not rocket science, right? Like, the president has the 6th largest Bitcoin treasury company. All his cabinet members have huge stakes in Bitcoin. Even RFK, the health guy, is basically saying he has the majority of his liquid net worth in Bitcoin. The vice president literally owns Bitcoin. Like, all of this is this is confirmed. Tulsi Gabbard spoke at the Bitcoin conference. The vice president spoke at the Bitcoin conference. His sons have huge stakes in Bitcoin businesses. Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to put 2 and 2 together. Now, you would ask, like, why hasn't this been announced yet? Like, why hasn't this been revealed yet? Well, I don't think that they've packed their bags as much as they've wanted to pack their bags, because the way that this works is basically suppress the price as long as humanly possible so that you can accumulate cheap sats. You can literally point out the times last year where Bitcoin was pumping, and then Trump fat fingers on Truth Social, says some things, and then the price takes a catastrophic dump shortly after. And then the following day, he goes on and he's like, you should probably be buying right now. And then he goes on Truth Social the next day and he's like, actually, we're reversing back those tariffs, right? And then the price recovers, right? He kind of did the same thing, by the way, recently with this crash to 60K, and then we went back to 70K. He said, look, we're going to have a run. We're going to have one of the most epic runs ever. Like, he's done this recently. So clearly, like, at the end of the day, if you want to see the outcome, you have to look at the incentive. The incentive is they own a lot of Bitcoin. The incentive is they're heavily invested in the Bitcoin industry. The incentive is their cabinet members are all heavily invested in the Bitcoin industry. The regulators are pro-Bitcoin. Scott Bessent, the future Fed chair, they're all pro-Bitcoin. So if you think that the first pro-Bitcoin president is going to leave office with a price lower than when he got into office, you are batshit crazy. Full stop. You're crazy. Yeah, like you're living in a different reality, ladies and gentlemen, right? So what I think is happening is they're actively trying to keep the price down so that they pack their bags. When their bags are sufficiently packed, then they're going to make an announcement. And that announcement is going to send Bitcoin to the moon. That's my 2 sats. When I saw this picture of Saylor basically like kind of, you know, in the background, like, you know, looking his head over just like that. Like, do you think Saylor's there for social reasons? Absolutely not. He's not there just to socialize and just be like, all right, guys, let's have a great time. And, you know, let's talk. And, you know, we got to just, you know, converse and, like, no, he's there for one reason and one reason only. He wants MicroStrategy. He wants strategy to go to the effing moon before Elon Musk, right? That's literally that's literally what Saylor wants, right? And what is the most efficient way for strategy to go to the moon as fast as humanly possible? For the United States government to make a global announcement that they are actively not just holding Bitcoin, actively accumulating Bitcoin.
Higher.
And that is the biggest catalyst the world has ever seen. And I think it will send Bitcoin to at least $500,000 per coin in a very, 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 very short amount of time. That's my take on all this.
I'm with that. Even though I am, even though we are separation of state and money maxis.
I didn't even know someone made like a montage
it was great.
video
It was great.
of my tweet, bro. But it's so obvious. Like we've been saying this for months, but when I saw that, I'm like, dude, like, come on now. This is incredibly obvious. And this is what
Wait. Before you go on, I'm going to cut you off real quick. Are you willing to take back your take from last week about the U.S. government not being serious ever since Bo Hines and Lummis backed down?
After I see this picture, I saw this picture 100%. 100%. I take it back. After I saw this,
so now you have faith in politics again. You have faith in incentives. I'm trolling. You have faith in incentives.
It's not. This has nothing to do with politics. This has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with incentives. It has to do with the fact that I think the Trump family sees Bitcoin as a way to get fabulous, like
British hodl quote here.
I think that they see Bitcoin as a mechanism to get very wealthy themselves. That's what it's not rocket science. Like, this isn't politics. This is literally human incentives, right? And I think that the only reason they haven't done so already is because they weren't sufficiently positioned in order to make that type of announcement to benefit the most they can from it. We're getting screamed at.
The chat's cooking. The chat's so good. Oh man, this is good. This is delicious.
Okay, hold on.
This is a delicious Monday morning.
Wine wants us to mention the giveaway.
Dude, it's not time yet. It's not time yet. Wine, chill out. It's not time. Right. I mean, I guess whatever. Do it now. Who cares?
All right. We will be giving away a bit key.
Another one. Why? Yo, chill. There's a.
We will be giving away a bit key.
There's motion to this.
So go on Twitter, enter the contest. It has all the details there. And then we'll be announcing the winner on Friday. So I'll keep reminding you guys all throughout the week. But anyways, the intro for today's episode is this. I've completely changed my mind since last week. I think that they're going to announce that the U.S. government has been buying Bitcoin. And I think it's 100% because the Trumps have a large stake in Bitcoin and Bitcoin businesses. And I think that Michael Saylor has been putting in the work to influence the Trump family to basically make this announcement. There's absolutely no reason as to why he would be in these events otherwise. And I'll tell you another thing too, right? Out of all the people, you didn't have to Wine, what? You put it in the chat, bro. But okay. Out of all the people in that, can you pull up that picture? Because it's hilarious. Out of all the people in that event,
the Sailor one,
there's probably like 500 people at that event, right? At like 500 to 1,000 people at that event. And you're trying to tell me that when they take this beautiful picture of the Trumps and the family,
let me go to the big one here.
That the only time they take a picture is the time when Sailor's kind of in the back, like just poking his head out. Like that to me is a sign. That's some symbolism right there, bro.
I don't think it was on purpose. I think that's just simulation. That's simulation, bro.
I 100% believe that was on purpose.
Now you're really reaching.
No, I'm not reaching, bro. Think about it. Why out? Look. If you take a picture and then someone kind of photobombs it, right?
What? That's not even a photobomb though. He's just like in the background.
That's a photobomb, bro.
Isn't a photobomb when you like jump in?
That guy's famous, bro. That guy's famous. If it was like,
he's got motion, bro.
If he was a random person, or if he was a random person,
honestly, I think that's what happened. The person taking a picture was like, "There's just some random in the background. We're cool." And Bitcoin Twitter's like, "Oh, dude, Sailor's chilling with the Trumps." Got it.
But he was chilling with the Trumps, bro. He was making a move. He was approaching.
All right. Can I throw another little conspiracy theory in here?
This is not a conspiracy theory.
I'm not saying this is. I want to throw one in. I want to throw a conspiracy theory in.
We are tomorrow's Bitcoin news today. All right. And so far at Opti, we have a very, very high track record of the shit we call out.
This is denial, boys. Yo, this is cope. This is peak bear market
listen,
cope.
I'm not saying the price. I'm not saying we're not in a bear market. I'm not saying we can't go down. We could totally go down to like 45K, 30K. We could totally all of that.
Okay, enough of that. Enough of that.
Hold on.
Wait, wrong one. Let's
all of that stuff is still going to happen, right? Like we're still going to have a bear market. I'm not debating that. But what I'm trying to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is that there is no doubt in my mind that by the time we get to 2028, the Trump administration will have made an announcement that they're actively accumulating Bitcoin for the strategic Bitcoin reserve. I have no doubt in my mind that is the case.
All right, bet. All right. Well, can I add another wrinkle into this? Can we add another wrinkle?
Just an opinion. But
it's just an opinion,
just
bro.
An opinion, but that's my
all right, let's add another wrinkle into this.
What? Why else would he be there? Why else would he be there?
Maybe he cares about children with cancer.
No, I'm not. I'm sure Sailor's a very,
philanthropic person.
Sailor's a philanthropist, and he wants to give back to, to children and
St. Jude Hospital.
St. Jude Hospital. I'm not saying that he wouldn't do that. But what I'm trying to say is that these types of events are some of the best networking events ever.
True.
And probabilistically, the fact that they took that picture and Sailor was the one in the background, like,
dude,
come on now.
It's just simulation winking.
Why do you think Sailor's at Mar-a-Lago? Oh, I'll put another thing in here. Why do you think in the earnings call, Michael Saylor mentioned
that's
Trump
what I was
winning
saying.
the election?
That's what I was saying.
Why does he keep mentioning that over and over and over again? Right? He went to CPAC, bro. He's a tech CEO, and he went to CPAC, right? He went to a conservative. Conference. You look good. What are you talking?
It looks like it's my camera was see, look, it's like it's getting unfocused on me. What's going on here? Anyways, keep going. Sorry. Dude. Keep going. Keep talking, dude. I'll figure out the camera thing.
So, okay. So last thing, and then we're going to move on.
Wait, no. I want to add one more thing into this.
Okay. What is it that you want?
My camera keeps unfocusing on me. Let's not forget that last week, most of all Bitcoin Twitter was blaming CZ for dumping in the price. You know, he said he was going to buy a couple of billion. Turns out, oopsie, sorry, we accidentally sold $1 billion and we nuked the price of Bitcoin on a random Thursday. We had one of the biggest, dumps in history. No one knows why. CZ totally also got pardoned. Maybe there was some back end conversation about, hey, at a certain point, we're going to need you to give us a good entry into the market. Maybe that's what happened. And now there's rumors that Trump or the U.S. government is adding to the strategic Bitcoin reserve. Hey, man, I'm putting on my tinfoil hat on today, but it do be making some sense. So you're going to be bummed when we rally and don't stop. I totally agree with that. Someone gets it.
I think
how do you fat finger $1 billion? Yeah. How do you fat finger sell $1 billion? All right.
No, listen, bro.
Doesn't make sense.
Look, they pardon CZ. CZ dumps the market. Everyone has a chance. All the insiders have a chance to pump their bags, right?
And then we get back above 70K.
And then all of a sudden, Trump goes on True Social like he always does, and he's like, look, instead of bombing Iran, we've bought the dip.
Hey.
What?
Can you say that? You can't say that.
What do you mean?
We're on YouTube, bro. Anyways, keep going.
Instead of doing things
metaphorically.
I never said, bro, that. What do you mean? That's what Trump does, bro.
Look,
he
just
goes
saying.
on True Social. He's like, listen, we
Oops,
kidnap.
Oh well,
we kidnap the president of a country. Like, I mean, this is Trump status quo. This is what he does, bro. This is like his operandi, bro. This is typical Trump.
You know, he does have brinksmanship. I will give him that. And
Okay,
I don't think it's above them to dump the market to get a good position. So I'm on board that they have bought Bitcoin.
You not imagine for just 1 second, all caps, bro. Let's just picture it in your mind, ladies and gentlemen. All caps. We bought the mother effing dip, right? We bought the dip. The United States of America has added Bitcoin to their strategic Bitcoin reserve. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
That'd be a lit tweet. That'd be an awesome tweet.
That's what's going to happen. I'm telling you, that's what's going to happen.
I'm with it.
I'm super like, bro, like this is what's going to happen.
Let's be honest, though. The only way they could actually be the Bitcoin superpower of the world is basically two things. Stack a lot of Bitcoin and then eliminate capital gains, and then we're good to go. Bitcoin superpower of the world confirmed.
The thing is, I don't know about the capital gain. I don't know how, like, see, that is like, that is radioactive. Like, I don't know how they're gonna get away with that.
What, dude? The whole administration's radioactive. Let's just drop one, dude. Let's just get it over with. Rip the Band-Aid off.
No, but like the problem with that is who put the pumpkin back. By the way, was that you that put the pumpkin back? That little pumpkin.
That was you.
I didn't put that little pumpkin back there. No, but then it looks bad. Now the brown. Now
so
the
it was
showing.
you. It was you.
There we go. See, now it's
dude. Now he's doing
and now has
dude. Now he's doing fashion design and set design on.
Now it has function.
All right. Anyways.
Okay, guys, it's gonna be an incredible show. We got Mauricio, the co-founder of Ledn, joining us a little bit later. Joining us in about 20 minutes or so. It's gonna be fantastic. 700 of the whole narrative is preposterous. How is that preposterous? Could you pull up the picture, please?
What's the obsession?
Could you just play the clip once again? The clip does it best.
Do you think that the president is going to fill the Bitcoin reserve?
I don't know. That will
Well, that's
be
what I
a
heard at
big
60.
deal.
I heard at 60 he's going to fill the Bitcoin reserve. You better cover.
Do you think that Trump is serious about creating this Bitcoin reserve, and how would that work?
I think he is. And, you know, if you think about the Louisiana Purchase, California, and Alaska, we paid $40 million to buy 75% of the United States. Nobody remembers the $40 million. But if you know where the money's going, you should buy the property, buy the future.
Oh, and also let's not forget that Saylor bought.
This guy wants to buy Greenland. Are you trying to tell me that he doesn't want to buy? He doesn't want to be remembered as the president that basically took a huge portion of the supply and bought it for his country. Like, the dude wants to buy Greenland. Like, are you telling me he doesn't want to do the same for Bitcoin?
And Saylor bought another 1,000 coins, like we predicted.
1,000 coins, bro. Like, we did predict that, right? So it's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. It's not too much of a stretch. I don't care if you guys call it preposterous or whatever. It is speculative, right? I'll give you guys that much, right? I'll give you guys that much. But like, come on now, like. It's not complicated to like come to this conclusion. What, like, Jim Cramer's asking the same question. They're asking Saylor if he thinks this is going to happen. Saylor is saying yes. The whole administration is watching charts. 100%
facts, literal facts,
bro. Barron is buying the dip every time.
Yo, Barron's the best trader of our generation.
Barron has Trump's. Barron has his dad's Truth Social login, and he's just, a lot of those posts are coming from Barron. Just you know,
no, all those secret shorts and longs are coming from Barron.
I'm just saying. Anyways, we just broke 800 live viewers on YouTube. If you guys are enjoying the show so far, make sure to smash that like button. Consider subscribing to the.
We got a believer. It makes perfect sense.
To the most watched Bitcoin live show on planet Earth, Simply Bitcoin Live. Also, check us out on Rumble. Rumble's been popping off lately, so shout out to everybody watching us on Rumble, and shout out to everybody watching us on X and Primal as well. Again, if you guys are enjoying the show so far, make sure to smash that like button. Consider subscribing to Simply Bitcoin. We have a hell of a show lined up for you guys today. Shout out for all the zaps. So far, we've gotten 210 zaps on Nostr. No wonder why. Oh, I can't say that. Nico says politicians could say something and do something else. Essentially. Salute. Everything is fine. Don't worry. Be happy. I love the Nostr energy. Let's see the Rumble energy. The Rumble energy is shit on Nico energy. Nico, stop touching your your Bitcoin. The Von Baron dynasty. Hi, my simply bitter family.
That's my favorite comment.
This is hilarious.
All right.
Guys, we're going to get to the next section. We have this awesome, fantastic, amazing,
wonderful
thread by Jack Ballers, which I got to interview in El Salvador, which is pretty cool. We're going to go through that. And then we have Mauricio from Ledn joining us in about 15 minutes or so. So anyways, guys, it's going to be a great show. Bunker down, smash the like button, grab a seat, grab a drink, relax, sit back, enjoy the show, and we're going to be right back just a bit. Today's episode is brought to you by Bitcoin Well Infinite. If you're a serious Bitcoin buyer, you've probably hit the same wall. Most platforms make you give up custody just to play by the rules. Bitcoin Well Infinite fixes that. They're North America's only publicly traded, non-custodial OTC desk listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, which means transparent operations and zero counterparty risk.
You buy Bitcoin, you take immediate control, period. For trades over $50,000, you get a dedicated executive Bitcoin advisor, competitive spread starting at 1%, and immediate delivery straight to your own wallet. No custody risk, no withdrawal fees, just institutional grade execution with full asset control. If you want to buy Bitcoin the right way, book a free consultation at bitcoinwell.com/OTC or email infinite@bitcoinwell.com.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, StampSeed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? StampSeed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them down on paper. Paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo, and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on StampSeed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store. All right, everybody, you guys want to store your seed words properly, stamp them into titanium. This is the 12-word seed plate. They make it in 24-word seed plates. You can buy the entire kit so you can stamp your seed in the privacy of your own home, only on stampseed.com. Use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store. All right, everybody, let's get into today's numbers. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $70,400. Sats per dollar, 1,420. Block height, 935,778. Realized monetary inflation, 0.83%. Market capitalization, 1.41 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 4.7%. Percentage issued, 95.17%. The grand scheme of things, we are just getting this party started. Anyways, I do want to show this thread that I read this morning by Jack Ballers. That is quite interesting. Maybe you guys would find some value in it. I definitely did. But anyways, Jack Ballers starts with Bitcoiners have long viewed Bitcoin as the solution to currency decline. Better gold, ultimate money. Instead, the broader market has treated it like a software stock. Painful, but this dip may be how Bitcoin stops trading like tech and starts trading like a hard asset. Bitcoin has confused everyone recently. Hasn't tracked gold. It hasn't tracked QQQQ. It has tracked software. Bitcoin and the software ETF have moved identically at times, including during this recent sell-off. This explains a lot, including the recent violent sell-off. Software, SaaS, cloud, high multiple growth, and Mag 7 are all taking a beating. Why? 2 reasons. First, AI is changing the economic profile of software itself. Software is moving from a cash machine to a capital-intensive business. Look at big tech CapEx growth recently. So he's showing 2 screenshots. Tech AI spending may approach $700 billion this year. And then another eye-watering CapEx number. Amazon sees 2026 CapEx about $200 billion. And let's keep going with the thread. So it goes on to say, second, the U.S. is structurally redirecting capital from tech buybacks plus high multiples and toward reshoring plus domestic infrastructure. Big tech is no longer returning cash to shareholders. It's deploying existing and future cash into data centers, power, etc. When an asset class goes from a cash machine to a capital sink, the multiple has to change. That's why even the best software companies can trade at their lowest valuations ever. The category premium is gone. Amazon is trading at its lowest valuation ever. Regime shift. So as you could see, what Jack was pointing out, because of the above, capital is responding rationally. Liquidity is rotating out of software, buyback-dependent equities, momentum and leverage, and into CapEx, energy, industrials, infrastructure, and the real economy. We are living through a regime change or a regime shift. These 4 old economy stock sectors should be a buy after the market's anti-AI meltdown, analysts say. Now back to Bitcoin, what all you guys have been waiting for. Bitcoin has been pulled into this rotation because it shares the same investor base for now. Same holders, same liquidity, same forced selling dynamics. It's trading like software because over the last decade, the market has classified it as software. Bitcoin fundamentally doesn't need what software needs. It doesn't need margins, earnings, buybacks, CapEx, refinancing. Software needs that. Companies need that. The hardest neutral money in human history does not. The market sized Bitcoin up wrong. We're early. So that is Jack Mahler's analysis of, why number go down. As painful as this drawdown has been, it may be necessary, even constructive for Bitcoin. If this cycle washes out highly leveraged short-term risk on software capital, what remains is a base of long-term hard money hodlers. That's how we moved on from this chapter. Buy the fucking dip. I mean, I guess so. I will say this.
Yeah. All right. Sorry. Keep going. Sorry.
I never finished 4th grade. Just kidding.
I couldn't agree more with that take. Go. Continue. Sorry.
You should read things from now on, Opti.
I just might have to. Bro, how can you not read? It's crazy. All right, go. Let's not talk about your bad reading skills. Let's talk about let's talk about that thread, dude.
Okay, so in all seriousness, look, I just. It's unfortunate that Bitcoin is kind of it's correlated to traditional assets. That used to not always be the case. Before, back in the day, Bitcoin was an uncorrelated asset, and it was I would say a lot funner back then. The volatility was a lot greater, but it didn't go hand in hand with liquidity. It didn't go hand in hand with the stock market. It didn't go hand in hand with the Federal Reserve's policy. It didn't go hand in hand with the regulatory environment. Because Bitcoin has gotten so big, it kind of goes hand in hand with all these things. I think the game fundamentally changed with the introduction of the ETFs. Now, where I perhaps disagree with Mahler's is, and perhaps Opti disagrees with me on this one, but I think that I think Bitcoin is acting I think Bitcoin is acting like it's in a traditional 4-year cycle. That's what I think. And we peaked in October, and then we have, 10 months to a year of a traditional bear market, and then number go up starts happening again as we approach the next halving, and then the next halving causes a supply shock, and then the price goes up. Like, that's what I think is happening. I think that there was a little bit of a front run this cycle because of the approval of the spot Bitcoin ETFs. So we did have an all-time high before the halving, and I think that potentially might have accelerated a lot of the gains earlier into the cycle rather than later into the cycle, as traditionally has happened. But I'm 100% still a believer in the 4-year cycle until that is fundamentally broken, and it still hasn't broken. I think what did change a little bit was kind of like the price action of Bitcoin, and I think that changed again because of the introduction of the ETFs. And now that kind of Wall Street is involved in the asset, there's a correlation. Like Jack Mallers did point that out, and I do agree with him there that it is correlated. It does behave like this type of tech stock, right? That's how the market is seeing it, even though it's not. And I do agree with Mallers there as well. Like it's the best neutral money the world has ever seen. And that's what it is. It isn't a tech stock whatsoever. It's not a company, right? So yeah, I mean, but I remember, back in the early days, Opti, back in the 2017 era, like Bitcoin would just pump on fake news. Like back in the day, it was
Good
like,
times.
It was crazy like that, and that just isn't the case anymore. It's a little bit different. It's kind of grown up, Bitcoin's grown up a little bit, right? But I think that the world is going to come to realize that Bitcoin is different. And I think one of the biggest catalysts is going to be to kind of connect this with what we were talking about during the intro segment a little bit. One of the biggest catalysts is going to be the United States government announcing that it is actively accumulating Bitcoin and adding it to the strategic Bitcoin reserve. I think that catalyst, people are sleeping on it. People are not seeing it. One of the things that I've noticed this cycle as well is there was so much certainty in 2025. Now there's a lot of uncertainty. Like, people don't know with 100% conviction that Bitcoin is going to even reach all-time highs. Like, there's this theory that's going around, basically like, look, like the Ponzi's over, Bitcoin hasn't reached all-time highs with gold. Like, there's no more buyers to push Bitcoin to higher and higher prices, right? That isn't the case anymore. I think that the moment that announcement gets made, and I'm pretty confident that announcement gets made, and it's going to happen when you least expect it. I think it's going to catch everybody by surprise, and I think Bitcoin is just it's just going to leave everybody, behind that hasn't bought spot Bitcoin or exposure to Bitcoin, and this thing's going to take off like we've never seen before. And that theory, by the way, of like, oh, the market cap is so big, so you can't have this crazy volatility. Silver and gold just proved that isn't true, right? Gold is an enormous asset, and it moves 60% in a year, right? And gold, has a $30 trillion market cap? It's something absurd. Silver,
I haven't checked in the last couple of days, but it's around there.
Silver had a huge market cap, and it moved. It made huge moves, right? So this kind of narrative that, oh, Bitcoin is so big that it can't move, I think I'm calling bullshit. All I think is that it needs a catalyst.
34 trillion.
It needs a catalyst. I told you guys what that catalyst would be. It would be legitimization of Bitcoin. It would, in the eyes of the world, Bitcoin would be on par with gold if the United States government makes that type of announcement. And I tell you guys, like, the reason that Bitcoin wins is because people want to benefit from number go up. And Trump is a human being, and the Trump cabinet, they're human beings like everybody else. And guess what? They want to get wealthier like everybody else. Anybody who's telling you that, you know, they don't want to get wealthier for the future, you know, unless they're doing it for like religious and moral reasons, you know, okay, I understand that. But like, Trump is the businessman. Like, you know, there's a reason he's a billionaire, right? You know, and I think that this is, you know, a perfect example of, he's looking at this and he has the power of the presidency and he thinks to himself, okay, you know, this is a good opportunity to obviously put America first. I said it. And obviously, you know, benefit his family simultaneously, right? It's, you know, kind of that alignment of incentives that we always talk about on Simply Bitcoin. So anyways, that's my take on this. Opti,
Yeah.
Take. And then we got Mauricio in the wings who's going to join us in a little bit.
So, dude, see, it's still doing it. Whatever. I actually probably agree with Jack Mahler's on this, and it might sound bad the way that I view it. I'm gonna put it as nicely as possible, but I do fundamentally believe, like I've been saying it for a while, there is a quote unquote new investor in the market. They're the ones with all the capital. Of course, these are the people coming from Wall Street. These are the ETF buyers. These are the nation states. These are the huge asset managers that, for better or worse, still use, I don't know, traditional kind of lenses into the market. And so they, you know, they use what they're used to try to explain what this new thing is, which is Bitcoin. And I haven't actually heard a lot of people say this idea about Bitcoin being related more to like the software ETF, like Jack Mahler's was saying, but it does make sense. We have been seeing Bitcoin be treated like this high beta tech play. And I think that makes sense when you understand just a lot of the capital coming in are these Wall Street types, are these traditional suit coiners, if you will. And that's how they look at this. They don't really understand Bitcoin in the way that we do, or maybe not necessarily even understand it. They don't see Bitcoin in the same lens that we do. And that might be the fundamental difference here. Whereas like for us, we're like, Bitcoin's the finish line. It is the money. And they're like, it's just a high tech, you know, play here. And therefore that's why it's been treated like this. So I do agree that it's going to break at a certain point.
Guys, we have a very special guest joining us on the show today. We have the co-founder of Ledn. We have Mauricio joining us on the show. We're gonna bring him up right after the break, and we're gonna talk about all things Ledn. And we got a special video that we created for you guys. We're really excited to share it. We're gonna be right back in just a little bit. Oh, I pressed the wrong button. Mauricio joined us instead. Anyways, we're gonna be right back.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledn, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledn.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store. I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitKey. If you already self-custody your Bitcoin, you know the deal with hardware wallets by now. Complex setups, clumsy interfaces, and a seed phrase that can be lost, stolen, or forgotten. BitKey fixes that. BitKey is a multi-sig hardware wallet built by the team behind Square and Cash App. It packs a cryptographic recovery system and built-in inheritance feature into an intuitive, easy-to-use wallet with no seed phrase to sweat over. It's simple, secure, self-custody without the stress. Time named BitKey one of the best inventions of 2024. Get 20% off at bitkey.world. That's BITKEY.world with the code SIMPLY.
All right, everybody, we're back. And of course, we got our boy Mauricio joining us in the house today. Mauricio, it was great to see you in El Salvador, man. That was fantastic.
Yeah, always great to see you, man. That was really fun, and excited to present the little project we worked on down there.
Absolutely. I'm super excited to show off this video to you guys today. And we might switch the show to Spanish only. But I think it's a good representation of the fact that Ledn is international, right? And it has a low barrier to entry. And again, just because you're from a specific country doesn't mean that you can't get access or you can't tap into the wealth of your Bitcoin, right? And that's what, you know, the products that Ledn offers, right? So we're really excited to tell this story. I know this person individually, and just watching him build up his business, you know, again, it's like kind of like a miracle story. So many of these miracle stories happening in El Salvador. And I'm so glad that, you know, Mauricio was able to help this particular individual build up their business. And you see these stories happening all over the place, right? It's incredible to see. So anyways, no more delay. I'm going to play you guys the video, and then we'll talk about it. We're going to be right back in a bit.
Aunque Bitcoin es un activo digital, mucha gente lo utiliza para ahorrar, crear negocios, crecer sus negocios y tomar oportunidades nuevas. Y yo creo que no hay un mejor ejemplo en el mundo de cómo Bitcoin te da oportunidades que aquí mismo en El Salvador. Y hay un ejemplo que a mí me gusta mucho en lo particular, y es la empresa de mi amigo Napo, que se llama BitDriver. Y BitDriver para mí es uno de los mejores... Para mí es uno de los mejores ejemplos de cómo un emprendedor puede usar Bitcoin para crear un nuevo negocio, crecerlo, financiarlo y crear trabajo para las personas aquí en El Salvador. Napo, cuéntame, ¿cómo fue tu experiencia expandiendo tu flota?
Bueno, la verdad que es muy emocionante porque de haber sabido tuviera más Bitcoin desde 2021, así que, pero bueno, la verdad que me gustó bastante la experiencia porque en realidad te hace potencializar tu negocio sin vender ni un solo Bitcoin. Y pues, ¿qué te puedo decir? Yo sé que en menos de un año el carro se debe haber pagado totalmente, y voy a recuperar mis Bitcoin con el financiamiento que puedo tener. Así que vamos por el primero de muchos. El primero de muchos.
Vámonos para la conferencia.
All right, so I just got to say, Mauricio, you could have also been a male model as well. Other than being the founder of one of the most successful companies in the Bitcoin industry, with the glasses and you're in shape, bro. I gotta find out who your trainer is. But in all seriousness, man, that it was so cool. It was so cool to see that. And for anyone who doesn't know, BitDriver is this kind of like it's just like Uber in El Salvador, essentially. So you send Napo a message. There's this chat. You send them a message, and then they send you a driver to come pick you up, and you pay in Bitcoin. It's super, super cool. The first time Opti told me about it, like I couldn't believe it existed, you know? And like it's hilarious because Napo puts like memes in the chat when you like tell him like, hey, could you pick me up at a certain time? And he'll put like memes. It's like super, it's like Uber and Bitcoin had a baby in El Salvador. That's what BitDriver is. It's fantastic. And again, I think Napo found himself in the situation that a lot of us find ourselves you know, if you're a business owner in the Bitcoin space where, hey, perhaps you need some capital to grow your business. In the case of Napple, it's to expand his fleet of cars, obviously. And this is where he tapped into Ledn's product to do just that. And there was a fantastic marketing opportunity, because now if you're around the streets of El Salvador, you will see a Ledn car driving around, which is super, super cool. So it was awesome to get to film that, Mauricio. You know, and then the success story of Napple is so inspiring. And then again, using your product to, again, grow his business. And we're also going to be telling a very interesting story around the Bitcoin conference as well.
Yes.
Another example, and they're all unique. They're all very interesting. But I'm going to hand it off to you. I'm going to hand it off to you, Mauricio, because that was super fun, man. That whole weekend was super, super fun.
No, 100%. And yeah, the opportunity came about because I had the luck of meeting Napo a few times in person at these conferences. And, you know, I had used BitDriver myself several times while I was in El Salvador. And when he came to us, or came to me and said, listen, I want to grow my fleet. I don't want to sell my Bitcoin. I want to learn more about your Ledn loans. I basically walked him through the product, how he could use it. And he said, I want to use it to expand my fleet. And when he said that, I basically said, we would love to work with you, as we've done in some other cases where, for example, people or Bitcoiners with very interesting businesses come to us for financing. Sometimes we see an opportunity to do more with them than just provide the financing. Sometimes we could do some type of marketing partnership or joint messaging or joint education, because a lot of times Bitcoiners that we service can be potential clients of them and vice versa. So the same opportunity came about with Napo, and I thought, man, how cool would it be to have El Salvador's, you know, Bitcoin driving service, you know, promote Ledn and tell people that our loans exist and that they're using our loans to grow their business. How inspiring would that be? And he was all for it. So we worked to put in these special headrests we made them in El Salvador, by the way. Everything about this campaign was built and made and designed in El Salvador, produced in El Salvador. And so again, we not only does our financing help create more jobs in El Salvador by getting him more cars and providing a better service, leading to more tourism, but also by doing the production and the manufacturing, call it, of any of these local pieces in El Salvador, the campaign went on to do much more, right? We created the opportunities to build a headrest, to deploy the decal, even the sheet that we built to unveil the car was also produced in El Salvador. So I think it's a great story, and it shows how much more than just internet money Bitcoin can be, and the doors that it can open. I think the other point that I'd like to make, I think in the context of these recent moves that we can get into, is when you're using these products, you have to size them properly. You have to plan properly when you're using these products. That'll ensure that when price action like what we had this weekend comes in and materializes, you have a plan and you can respond, and your loan can basically continue to be healthy while price recovers. I'm happy to say that Napo had, Napo and others, many more. I would say the vast majority of all of our Ledn clients, had a plan, responded. It was, I was very happy to see both the tech that we built helping people by allowing for things or facilitating things like auto top up, partial repayments, etc. So it's really great to see how many of our clients had plans for this type of volatility, and the resilience of the book, the stability of the platform. This was just one more episode for us, but I think it's important, again, when you take these products, I'm sure it's in everybody's minds right now, and you see episodes like this, well, you should plan for a Bitcoin to be volatile. That is part of the market that we're in. And as long as you have that plan, you're going to be fine, and you're going to come out the other side really happy. But it's important that you have that plan. I think this week demonstrates A, how important it is to have a plan, B, how important it is to choose a reliable platform, a consistent platform that helps you react in times of need. So happy to get more into that. But I think just to close on Napo, I'm incredibly happy at how this turned out. I hope that this is the first of many. It was a huge hit. Even Peter Schiff got picked up by one of his cars and tweeted about the headrest. So it was, I think this was great to put the spotlight on him. And this is a story about Bitcoiners using Bitcoin to enhance their lives. And I think there was no better example than Napo.
Dude, so you mentioned the auto top feature, which I used it for the first time, and it's so effing badass, right? Because the volatility happens, right? The volatility happens, and you're like, okay. And then I think as bit, and I'm Mauricio, I'm sure you see this because I think Bitcoiners by their nature are like very conservative in terms of like the way they approach these loans. And like for me, like I was totally fine, but I was like, okay, but we did drop like 15-20% in a day. So like I if anything, I sent too much, but like it's really cool because there's this transaction account, right? And I got to experiment with all of this like over the weekend. It was a great time. I was resisting not to text Mauricio, but basically, so obviously with Bitcoin collateralized loans, you have to use them responsibly, which we've always been telling you guys for the longest time. But if you use them responsibly, they're a great tool, right, to really kind of tap into your Bitcoin without having to sell it. But obviously, in times of volatility, you obviously want to maintain the LTV in a healthy ratio, so at a healthy percentage, so to speak, right? So obviously, over the weekend, the volatility happens, right? And one of the products that you guys offer, which is really cool, is instead of just sending more Bitcoin for it to be collateralized, what you do is you send it into a transaction account. And if the LTV reaches a certain level, the transaction account automatically transfers that Bitcoin to collateralize the Bitcoin even more. You don't even have to do anything. And at the same time, let's say, the market stabilizes or starts going back up again, you can just withdraw the Bitcoin out of the transaction account whenever you want as well. Correct. So it's a really, really cool feature. I totally didn't do that. I fat fingered and just put a bunch of collateral into the loan just because I'm like that. But I played around with the transaction account, just to kind of just to see how it worked and how interesting it was. And it's super, super cool. And again, I could tell that it's a product that you guys designed specifically for moments like these, because that Bitcoiners don't fully want to give up that custody, because once it's in the loan, obviously it needs to hit a specific price for you to be able to redeem it. But at the same time, it's like, what if you want to go away for a weekend? What if you're traveling for a month and you like take off your cell phone and you're like, okay, but obviously, I don't want my loan to be at risk. But at the same time, I don't want to give up full custody of my Bitcoin. What do? This is where the transaction account comes into place. And again, first weekend, I personally experienced using it, and it was super, super badass. It was really cool. And I want to pat myself on the back a little bit because I didn't text Mauricio to ask for advice and to handhold me through the process. So.
Hey, no, I mean, I love it when people have the right plan and they know what to do and they came in ready. Some very interesting stats from Auto Top Up, because this was, I believe, one of the first major drops since the feature's been built. We had 4,600 loans with Auto Top Up on, protecting $130 million worth of principal, which was protected. There was only, I think it was less than 5% of cases where auto top up balances were set, but the balance on the auto top up was just, basically it was not enough to support the down move. But in the vast majority of the cases where the feature was used correctly and sized correctly, it basically protected 95% plus of people over $130 million worth of loans were basically topped up by auto top up. And another very, again, just to show you the scale of the type of response we get from our clients, we had 44,000 loan top up events that brought in over 4,000 Bitcoin of extra Bitcoin to collateralize Ledn loans. So it was really just, these are every time these events happen, they really test the system, right? We had perfect uptime. Everything basically works smoothly as intended, which is, how we've made our name is by being resilient, consistent, and reliable during these types of events. That is really what Ledn's DNA is about. And even in the other part is the other side of that you don't see is like, sure, the price is dropping, which makes people that have open loans have to basically respond and make sure their loans are kept healthy. But on the other side, other people were seeing it as a dip buying opportunity. So we had one of our biggest weeks in terms of loan originations at the same time. we've had over 65 million loans funded since Jan 28th, which is, again, there's just transactions from all sides, right? There's people protecting loans as the price drops. There's people using the price drop to come in and take new positions. So really, this is when you want to be all hands on deck and dialed in. And that's exactly, what we have done here at Ledn, and seeing the response from our clients, and the fact that the book has behaved the way it has, and our clients have responded the way they have. It really makes us, it reassures us that these tools that we're building are helping, and that people are using them the way they have to be used. And that just is exactly what we're here for. So we want to continue building things like auto top up, giving people that knowledge, or basically letting people know and reassure them every single time that no matter what the market conditions are, we will be here for you. And we did that one more time. So I'm immensely proud of the team. I'm immensely proud of our clients. And I think this is the type of event where once you see it, say you have a loan, and when you live through this and everything worked the way it should, it just reassures you even more that this is that was a sound decision.
Yeah, and I agree, man. And again, as a customer myself, and just getting to know your products thoroughly, which, by the way, saved my ass over the weekend. I'll get to that story in a second. But I can see that you guys have designed these products with Bitcoiners in mind. I could see it. Not only can I see it, I've experienced it, right? From the bottom to the top. In the beginning, I was texting Mauricio like crazy. I resisted this time, and I figured it out. I'm smart, I guess. You should have, Opti should have cut to himself. I could tell that it's designed for user experience, specifically a Bitcoiner's user experience. Now, one of the things I want to tell you guys this story, because Mauricio was there with me, is I basically had to moderate a panel off the cuff. And it was a panel relating to the Bitcoin backed loans industry. I had no preparation, and I had to just do it off the top of my dome. And I think I did pretty well, but I have some of those questions from that panel that I enjoyed, but at the same time, it was an adrenaline rush. Mauricio, when these types of, when this type of volatility happens, right? What are you seeing on your side the most? Like, what, like on your end, from your data, from your perspective, how are Bitcoiners treating this? Because there was one of the things from your presentation that you did on the main stage that stuck out to me the most, right? First of all, it was epic because Mauricio wore the Maduro Nike hoodie on stage. So like the Opti's shaking his head in approval. So basically the Nike hoodie.
It's called Aura.
Yeah, it was. It was. But basically the hoodie that Maduro was wearing, right, in the famous picture like this, Mauricio went on stage and he did his whole presentation in that exact same hoodie. I don't know where you found it, but you did the presentation in the exact same hoodie. And there was two moments in that presentation that stuck out to me. First, before the presentation, me and Mauricio, we talk a lot. Like, we talk excessively. And I think it's like a cultural thing. I have no idea. But we will literally talk for like 2 hours straight, nonstop. And I remember he was like about to go on stage, and like me and Mauricio were like sitting next to each other. And I remember like Mauricio wasn't being very talkative. And I was like, what's going on here? So he goes on stage, crushes the presentation. And one of the parts is Mauricio's on stage with the Nicolas Maduro, Nike hoodie, and behind it says Bitcoin is the king pristine collateral, like all black and white. It was badass. But there was another part of that presentation that really stuck out to me, and it was actually somebody who took out a loan back in 2020, right? And you put the graphic up, and it was really, really interesting. So you take a look at this loan, and basically it started with a lot of Bitcoin as collateral, right? Obviously, you would think so. And then you see basically as the price of Bitcoin goes up, you see the amount of Bitcoin posted as collateral go down. But then the bear market hits, and then you see the Bitcoin as collateral go up a little bit, But then another bull market hits, and then you see the amount of Bitcoin posted as collateral go down to lower levels than the previous all-time high of the previous bull market. It was a very kind of like eye-opening graph and stuff like that. And to me, I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is why it is called pristine collateral. This is why it's called, you know, the king of collateral, because you can do stuff like that where it's obviously a win for the lender. It's a win for the lendee. But what I will have to tell everybody, because I have seen a lot of this on X, which is a lot of people are like basically saying stuff like, you know, like you have to be careful with the loans and stuff like that. Look, if you're irresponsible, if you're putting 100% of your stack into a loan, then you're not, in my opinion, you're not doing this properly. Like, you're not doing this responsibly. You're taking leverage that you can't afford. If these types of drawdowns make you feel uncomfortable regarding your Bitcoin loans, you took out too much, right?
Correct.
If these types of drawdowns make you feel like, oh, I should probably top it up, then you're fine, right? So it's all like, money is relative, right? So, you know, 1 Bitcoin to somebody is a lot, 100 Bitcoin to somebody perhaps is a little. So it's all very, very specific to your type, to your situation. But I promise you that if you've been doing this responsibly, and my rule of thumb, and I think I've said this the last time Mauricio came on the show, is you should always be prepared for 70 to 75% drawdown. If you cannot survive a 70 to 75% drawdown in your loan, then I think you're doing it irresponsibly. That's my personal opinion. Mauricio, perhaps you disagree with me, because I saw a lot of people talking ill of, you know, like, hey, you shouldn't take out loans. And my personal interpretation of this, Mauricio, not just because, of course, you're on the show and we're friends, as a user myself, is it is a tool that, if you use properly, can help you on your Bitcoin journey tremendously. But as any tool, right, if you use it irresponsibly, obviously, you know, you can end up with a negative outcome, right? So that's my take on all that. Mauricio, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And now I know why Mauricio didn't want to talk to me before he went on to do his presentation, is because he was slightly nervous. But after the presentation, he absolutely crushed it. Like, he crushed it. Like, he could have done this with his eyes closed. But that's why he didn't want to talk to me. Anyway, Mauricio, stage is yours, bro.
Listen, I think everything you said, it makes complete sense to me. I think to talk a little bit about the sizing of the loan, to your point about it being relative, you should be prepared when you're taking these loans to support at least a sort of 50% drawdown, 70%, 80% to be very conservative on the conservative side. But again, Bitcoin is a volatile asset. We should not try to deny that or change that. We should embrace that and prepare for that. Like you said, a loan is just like any other tool, right? Like a chainsaw could be used to cut down a tree super fast, but you can also use a chainsaw to do a lot of other bad things. Somebody could cut their arm off. That's not to say chainsaws are bad and you should never use a chainsaw, right? Like, if you use it properly and you take the right steps and you do the right planning, it helps you move much faster. But it's just like any other tool. If not used correctly, it could potentially damage you. Again, it's not to say that you should not use the tool, is that you should basically learn and plan so you could use it properly to make you complete your work or your goals faster. So I think that point, I fully echo that. I think one of the most important things for us at Ledn, when anybody comes in new considering these products, is to help them plan. And I actually think that's why our book performs a lot better in moments like this, because people come in eyes wide open, right? When you take a loan at Ledn, even the loan itself in the application page will tell you when your 70% threshold is, when your 80% threshold is. When you're making a partial repayment at Ledn using stablecoins, will show you what that partial repayment does to the liquidation price, right? So because we're always, again, we understand and we know that people coming to Ledn are taking out loans because they think Bitcoin will be worth much more in the future, right? That is the premise of our business, right? Is don't sell something that's going to appreciate today if you could basically use it as collateral. That's the whole point, right? So of course we understand that the liquidation is something that is not the desired outcome that our clients want. And we don't want it either. We work very hard to open loans, and we don't benefit when loans get closed and clients don't have a great experience. So our sort of North Star is helping you plan and size that loan so that even when moments like this hit, you're just responding and moving on, and it's just another day in your life, right? If, to your point, if you're seeing a 5% down move, a 10% down move, and you find yourself looking at your watch, stressing and sweating, your loan's probably too big at that point, right? You should look to de-risk a little bit or hedge down. And we did see some clients basically do partial repayments to be safe. We saw some clients even proactively settle some of their loans to basically use the Bitcoin to protect other loans. Like, people have plans, and those plans can take many different shapes and sizes, but you have to have a plan, right? And you have to assume that at some point, Bitcoin may go down momentarily, and you need to have enough of a cushion to basically bring it back up. Because again, as to the example of the chart that you mentioned, right? The chart that you mentioned is a graph that I've put, and I can share with you. We can discuss it at length at a different show. I just don't have it right off. Like, I don't have it right now handy, that graph in particular. But basically, what the graph shows is what would have happened for a person that took out a $100,000 loan on January 1st, 2020. Okay, and that person went through COVID, the FTX crash. I'll update that model to even model out this price volatility episode. But in essence, the amount of collateral that you need for your Bitcoin is an inverse relation, give or take, with the price of Bitcoin. So if we're looking at the price chart, and the price chart is doing this over time, the collateral needed for the same dollar amount over that same period is going to do this, right? And that's exactly what the chart shows. You know, when Bitcoin's going up at steady state, right, or it's flat, you don't really see it. But everyone here watching this that's been around Bitcoin for long enough knows that every so often we'll have these omega candles where Bitcoin will go up 20-25% in a day. And then all of a sudden, you know, you're looking down at $20,000, which was the previous all-time high. And you're kind of looking down at it, and, you know, from a sort of nose bleeding height, looking, saying, well, we're at 120. Remember that 20K top, right? And so the loan itself over the long term will allow you to increase your net worth if you use it properly. It's important to be able to have a plan to respond throughout the volatility, because the worst that can happen is that on your path to the top of the mountain, you get derailed because you overborrowed, or you didn't size it, or you didn't think that Bitcoin could do this or that. So it's better always to assume or prepare for the worst and wait for the best.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. And I think this is when, you know, like this is, it's moments like these where, you know, it's moments like these where you obviously, again, it's moments like these where it's incredibly important for you to understand the tool that you are using. But one of the things that you said on stage, when we were all on stage together, Mauricio, that stuck out to me, which was the fact that there has been no liquidations. That was one of the things that stuck out to me when we were speaking, and I think that's a representation of you know, the Bitcoin community as a whole in terms of being responsible, so to speak.
Yeah, and listen, like, again, the October 10th episode, again, was not a Bitcoin episode, so that one did not lead to liquidations at Ledn. We did see some liquidations on this recent drawdown. Just mathematically, it would have impacted, and like if you run the numbers, right, you take it to 50% Bitcoin back loan at 120, 100, a price of 70, a price of 60 does get you into that critical area that could trigger some liquidations, right? So in this instance, what was tested really was the resilience, the stability of the platform, and the performance of things like auto top up, right? And so I think liquidations are a part of any Bitcoin backed lending company's risk management. That they have them working as intended, I think, is actually a great sign of sound risk management. But, you know, people, that's why we lean so hard in telling our clients, listen, assume that this volatility could hit, plan for it. Make sure it doesn't catch you off guard. If you need to respond fast, here's auto top up. You know, here's 3 other ways you can protect your loan. But it's important to understand that is a risk when you're taking out these loans, and you just have to plan for them.
Yeah, absolutely, and you have to do it responsibly. I would say is the thing. Now, Mauricio, I do want to mention the fact that like there was this other thing that you mentioned during on stage. I do want to bring it up, but it's not coming to mind. I'm going to pass it on to Opti while I have this brain fart. Opti, you want to jump in?
Well, I
Oh, dude, my camera. I have the same issue that Mauricio is having right now. I don't know what's going on. Here we go. All right. Look, I really personally, and I don't want to derail this conversation because I know the chat is really interested in this conversation. So I really wanted to talk more macro stuff here, but
We'll do that after the break.
Yeah, I don't want to derail this.
We'll do that after the break. But no, let's finish up the conversation regarding to Ledn, because I know a lot of people had questions. I know it's been your brain's been farting all day. Thank you guys. I love the Simply Bitcoin chat. You guys are so supportive. We appreciate all of you guys. Thank you guys so much. Love you guys. No, man, look, there was another thing that you said on stage that really stuck out to me, and I'm having trouble remembering what it was. Oh my God, what was it?
Well, luckily, I mean, I was up a few times there. I had that panel with you. I had a bunch of stuff, so I would be. I don't want to blurb you with all the presentations, but you know that there was a main stage on the history of lending, and then there was a panel that we did on lending, the Napa presentation.
No, the Napa presentation was good, but no, it was while the ad hoc moderating panel. There was a question that I can't. The chat is going crazy. There's a question that I asked you that I found that really quite interesting. Anyways, I guess I'll get back to it. But anyways, Mauricio, last bit, and then we do want to pick your brain in terms of the overall kind of macro situation and what's going on with that. So what piece of advice would you give to people kind of navigating this market with high volatility? You, as the co-founder of Ledn, what piece of advice would you give to people that are looking at Bitcoin-backed loans? They see the volatility, they're like, oh my God, this is not, because it's so funny, because it's like when there's downward when there's downward volatility, it's like, oh my God, blah blah blah. When there's upward volatility, it's like, oh my God, this is genius, this is such a great idea. So I think it's like unfair framing, right? No. So I want to just like, what piece of advice like would you give to Bitcoiners that are potentially interested in using this product?
I would say the main piece of advice is, even at these levels, right? If you're considering taking out a Bitcoin-backed loan at these levels, assume that we could get lower, right? Like, I'm not saying that we will go lower, nor do I predict or want us to go lower, but you're always trying to look out for yourself and your ability to come out this loan on the other side, right? So regardless of what the price of Bitcoin is, size your loan in a way that you can endure a 50 to 70% drawdown at all times, right? Because that will make sure that you can sleep at night, that you don't have to worry about it, that if whatever reason volatility hits, you have a plan for it, and it's not derailing your day-to-day, right? Like if you're taking out loans and there's a price that you feel we might hit, price starts heading in that direction, that's just going to immediately take you out of your box and distract you, right? And I think that's actually one of the main heuristics that I like to use to basically assess whether somebody has taken out more, a bigger loan or taking on more risk than they should have. If you're thinking about it too much, or if you're thinking about it a few times a day, you probably size it up too big, right? So for me, the most important thing as you're working out the plan or the decision to take a loan like these is to ensure that you have a plan and that you have the means to react to that plan, to protect that loan, right? Because taking a Bitcoin-backed loan is suggesting that you think Bitcoin price is going to be higher, right? But at the same time, nobody has a crystal ball. Between now and 2 years or 2 years from now, Bitcoin might trade lower than where we are today for whatever reason, right? China banned it, treasury companies puked, whatever, a certain reason here. In this particular drawdown, people were just asking questions and saying, okay, what's the source of it? What's the source of it? There's still no real sort of boogeyman or culprit for the drop. It's just the drop. It's just Bitcoin being Bitcoin. We can talk about the reasons. I have some ideas or some sort of insights as to what I think could be driving this. But again, regardless of what's driving it, we've seen this before. This probably won't be the last time we see this. So just prepare yourself and size your loan to assume that we might have downside volatility. And that way, when it hits, you have a plan. It's just one more day, business as usual. and you can continue, and it doesn't derail your plan. So again, I think, measure twice, cut once, right? It's the same thing with a loan, right? Size it twice, take the loan once. Or, not necessarily you might need another loan, but what I'm trying to say is spend twice as much on your planning, because once the position is set, a lot of people just set it and forget it, right? And then you leave auto top up on, you don't have to make monthly payments, you don't really think about it much. The product is designed to make you not lose sleep. And if you use it that way, as many clients will tell you, as from your own experience, right, it works. You don't have to worry, it doesn't stress you out. But the moment you start using it a little more than you should, or you're taking a bigger loan than you should have, then it starts getting stressful. And that's not really the position you want to be in a downside volatility move, because then you might miss other opportunities, right? If your head's always on what's going to happen to my loan, what's going to happen to my loan, you might miss other things that are happening that day that are right in front of your face, like the opportunity to buy the dip, right? And so just spend more time, over index on the planning and the response, so that you can have a great experience.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that advice. And again, my rule of thumb is if you can't survive an 80% drawdown, you're probably a little bit overextended. And we've literally been saying that for months. I've literally been saying that literally for I think every single time Mauricio comes on the show. So it's just, again, reality hits like when you start to have that downward volatility. But if you use it responsibly, again, it's one of the most powerful tools that you can use, because then you don't have to sell your Bitcoin, which is like, obviously, as a Bitcoiner, you want to end up with more Bitcoin today than you have tomorrow. And this is a great tool that you can use if you use it responsibly. But as Mauricio said, like every tool, if you don't use it properly, things could happen. So anyways, guys, we're going to be right back. I want to get Mauricio's kind of general macro takes on things. Who's calling me? My sister. And I'm going to ignore you. I don't know why my phone is on silent. It is Monday. I apologize, guys. So we're going to get Mauricio's macro takes right after the break. We're going to be right back in just a little bit. I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technologies. Fueled by clean energy, HIVE has quadrupled its global Bitcoin mining footprint and channels that same scale into high-performance compute, where their AI cloud is now ranked #1 in the world for network performance. At HIVE, you've got dual engines, Bitcoin and AI humming, roaring, accelerating in unison. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable digital infrastructure. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at hivedigitaltech.com. All right, everybody, we are back. Opti, I'm going to pass it on to our macro expert.
I don't know about all that. But that's why I want to pick Mauricio's brain, because the last time you were on, it wasn't the last time. It was like maybe 3 months ago. You pretty much called the situation where we are today, and we're like, dude, Mauricio was saying that this was exactly going on, and the chat's like, hey, all the Ledn stuff's cool, Mauricio, but give me some hopium. What are you seeing with the macro? What is your take? And if you can, explain to the audience why you personally think the price dropped. So just general macro, where do you think we are? What's going on with Bitcoin, and further, what's going on with just like the global economy?
Yeah, so I'll talk a bit about Bitcoin. So what I'll mention is back on October 6th, John Glover, our chief investment officer, basically said, this is the top. We're going to see a slight correction. He was looking to go down to 74, 71. And at the time, when he put out this view, it was met with a lot of skepticism. Everybody said, John, what are you talking about? So because at Ledn, again, we, first of all, not financial advice. We just, we put on John's technical analysis for people to just basically gauge a reference as to his view on the market. But he was dead on, right? And we came down, we saw 74, 71. I think we're at 71 right now, which is dead on target. Like we ran past on the low side a little further than his target. And this isn't to say John has a crystal ball, but he's a very seasoned investor. He's been around for many, many decades in markets. So he has a really good pulse on just basically macro markets in general. And he had called this. Now, the flip side to that is that for his analysis, at least, speaking to the analysis he shares and continues to share through the Ledn X account, 71 is sort of the base where we're going to start forming the rally up to the next leg. And I think his target on the way up is, I think it's 140 to 150. I'll have to double check exactly. But this is, according to him, if we basically move significantly below the 70K range, we would basically lose the count based on his analysis, and that would basically reset his view. But right now it's going dead on to the levels that he had, called out months ago in October. As far as the reason, and I think from a hopium perspective, I guess what I'll say is just my observation is I think that bid at 60 that we caught was quite strong. So again, I don't have a crystal ball. This is not financial advice, but I would be hard pressed if we even try to revisit 60. I think the aggressiveness of that bid at 60 was pretty stood out to me, I guess, as pretty significant. And if you look at the volume traded at that level, it was pretty sizable. So I think there is a great deal of interest to buy on the buy side around those levels. The theory that I subscribe to the most as to what's driving this, they're the most credible sort of explanations. I think some of them were put out by Jeff Park and others, relate to a TradFi fund that was doing some type of carry trade using IBIT and some other treasury company stock, right? I think what you saw for a while when these treasury companies were trading at like crazy multiples to their net asset value is that some arbitrage shops saw an opportunity to go short the treasury company long Bitcoin, right? To basically arb out that trade. Well, how do you unwind that trade is you buy back the treasury company and sell Bitcoin, right? And if you're using instruments in doing that, there will be times based on market dynamics where if you were putting in that trade when there was a lot of sort of volumes for Bitcoin, so you were going long Bitcoin at a time where there were sellers or sellers of that Bitcoin. And if you're trying to unload that Bitcoin and there's not enough bid on the spot markets, that's going to cause a rundown in the price of the book, right? And so again, I don't necessarily have the sort of receipts to say it was this fund, it was that fund, it was this particular arbitrage trade. But I do think that given the timing of it, also the fact that we were bleeding so hard during US market hours, suggests to me that this had more to do with a TradFi unwind or some type of TradFi position or margin call than it was with a sort of crypto specific systemic issue. Also, I have to look at the altcoin landscape. I think they got absolutely slaughtered. But again, I think they should have gotten slaughtered even more if this wasn't some type of Bitcoin unwind trade and was some sort of discretionary crypto sell-off, right? So that's the explanation that I think makes the most sense to me. We'll see what happens. And maybe I wouldn't be surprised if later this week there's some evidence or some bodies come up floating from companies that basically weren't that got caught offside by the move. But again, I don't really have any sort of what you call evidence that it was this fund or that fund or this trade in particular. I think the explanation that makes the most sense is this sort of arb unwind from a TradFi shop and potentially even a blow up because of improper hedging or too much risk taking.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. I did see Jeff Park's tweet about that, and it's like, okay, though wasn't Jeff Park's tweet saying it was like a Hong Kong fund? But
yes,
yeah,
from
okay.
Asia funds.
Yeah. Okay.
Again,
yeah,
I don't know.
He's
closer to that world than I am. But again, when these types of things happen, so for example, when FTX the blow up was happening within the crypto circles, people were saying, okay, well, it could be these market makers. We knew that Three Arrows and Terra Luna had already failed. So some companies could have had exposure to those failed companies. And then that created this sort of daisy chain of knock-on effects. In this case, this was not what I would say a nuclear market event for a large crypto participant. I think by and large, most platforms, I mean, there were some outages here and there, but I think most platforms were pretty reliable and were up for the most part. No sort of blow-ups or bank run type of conversations I've seen anywhere this time around, particularly around Bitcoin or crypto specific firms. So that suggests to me that this is more sort of TradFi related than crypto or
Yeah,
Bitcoin.
yeah, I
I
saw
hate the
that.
word. I hate that
Yeah.
word.
Yeah, I saw that. That makes sense. All right. Putting Nico on the spot, because Nico was gloating all last week that he called this perfectly. I don't want you have to make Bitcoin price predictions here. I want you to react to Nico's call here for 40K Bitcoin. 4-year cycle, he's like, we're probably going to 40K.
So the reason I said that is because, again, the 4-year cycle is intact until it's not. And the moment that it hit in October, we hit the peak and the top in October. I was telling you for like 1 or 2 months, hey man,
it's true.
The cycle's probably over. It's probably done. And from like, again, this all goes back to, you have to prepare for the worst. And I know I was telling you guys this entire time in October, and you guys gave me so much shit every single day. I remember you and Walker came on the show, bro, and you guys literally beat me up with the metaphor 2x4. For me basically saying, listen, we probably topped, the 4-year cycle's intact. And I said, you should, as a Bitcoiner, you should always be mentally prepared for an 80, which I don't think we'll get an 80 because the market's a lot bigger, but you should always be prepared for an 80 to 75 to 70% drawdown. That's what I always have said. I've consistently said that since October. So if you mentally prepare yourself for that and we don't hit those price levels, you'll be pleasantly surprised. But if you do hit those price levels, then you're prepared for it. You're mentally prepared. You're spiritually prepared. You're financially prepared. If you have a loan, you're prepared for that as well. You should always be prepared for that in Bitcoin. If you're not prepared for that in Bitcoin, you can find yourself in a very bad situation very quickly. And the reason I know this is from experience. Okay. I've been in these markets for more than a decade now. And I've gone through this is going to be my 3rd bear market. I've gone through brutal bear markets, 80% drawdowns, 75% drawdowns. And every single time I always remembered, the tops. Like I was like, oh, okay, there's no way it can't go lower. There's no way it can't go lower. And it ends up going lower. So right now, I've prepared this mindset, which is why I think I called October right. I've prepared this mindset where it's like, listen, this is probably the top. I feel it in my gut. I feel the feeling that the top feeling is always the same. It's always kind of like, what happens if you're having a good time and they stop the music and they turn on the lights. It's like kind of like that feeling. And then it always feels like you're on the edge of a cliff and you're looking down, right? Like it's like the combination of those two things and you put them together. I think Mauricio dropped off. There we go. And you put them together. And I remember having that feeling in October, and I've only ever had that very particular feeling 2 times in my life. And it was at the tops of the previous bull markets, right? So this time I learned from the past and I was like, okay, Nico, prepare, even if it doesn't happen, for that 70 to 75 to 80% drawdown, right? If you do so, you're very well prepared. Like from a financial perspective, if you have loans, from a loan perspective, from a business perspective. I run a Bitcoin business, right? So if you run a Bitcoin business and you're not prepared, financially for an 80% drawdown, you're going to get blindsided, right? So that's where I was coming from, Opti. Like you should be prepared for these drawdowns, and the volatility, in my opinion, is a gift, because once the volatility goes away, you won't, once the volatility goes away, the volatility doesn't just go away to the downside. It also goes away for the upside. So the volatility is a good thing. The volatility is life, in my opinion, right? So Mauricio, I want to get your perspective on that. Dude, you've been in this industry as long as I have, perhaps even more. So I'm assuming you think the exact same way.
Yeah, 100%. There's Bitcoin is volatile and it cuts both ways, right? It cuts down, it cuts up, and obviously everybody loves upside volatility, especially if you're long Bitcoin. Nobody loves downside volatility, right? And I think, again, I keep going back to this idea that you should always prepare for the worst, expect the best, right? If you do so, then the worst that can happen is oh, your plan materialized, right? You planned for the worst, the plan materialized, you knew what to do, you're mentally and spiritually prepared, as you said. And so it's not this sort of massive earth-shattering event, right? It's an outcome that you had definitely within your probable range of outcomes. The pain comes when you never planned for that outcome, and then you get hit with unexpected downside volatility without a plan or means to react, right? If you size yourself up to the downside and you just keep the upside open and let Bitcoin do its thing, that's the type of setup that we encourage you having at Ledn, right? Because we had a lot of clients that there was not a peep throughout this downturn, right? They were so prepared, they were so dialed in. I'm very proud of you, Nico, for not texting, because I think that means to me that you knew you were prepared for this, right? The volatility came, you had a plan, you knew where the Bitcoin was, you knew what price your loan could withstand, you knew we were far from it. You just went on about your day planning today's show or the next week's show, right? That's exactly the type of experience that you will have if you plan accordingly, right? Conversely, there were a few clients, of course, that were like, "Oh my God, I can't get to my hardware wallet. It's this or that," and they just didn't have a plan, right? And so this happens every so often. Every time one of these cycles happen, people learn, oh man, I was counting on this or I was counting on that, and that didn't materialize. And the other point that I'll make is this is now the third or fourth volatility cycle since Ledn has been around. We started lending in 2018. So we saw COVID, we saw FTX and Alameda, we saw this, we've seen everything basically since 2018. And every time the book becomes more resilient, more people respond, less people write to us from a percentage basis. The business is growing in absolute number terms, but like on a percentage basis, it's always less and less and less because people are learning how the product works, right? Like we have clients today that have been borrowing with us since 2018. This is definitely not their first rodeo, nor is it ours. So they know the drill, right? And every so often you have, especially the newer people, right? Like these would be people that started taking out loans 2025, right? Like this is their first rodeo. So they are learning a few things about these loans and these systems and how they need to react. So again, don't put yourself in a position where you're going to have to learn a lesson and pay the price yourself. Like try to learn on other people's lessons. When we tell you, like Nico, when you say to somebody, size it up, I've been through this, I've done it, I know you can have a great outcome or a good experience if you size it this way, if you plan it this way. Don't think that we're saying plan just because we like saying it. We don't want you to take a loan or whatever reason, right? Like we're saying it because we want you to have a great experience and not be caught flat-footed with one of these volatility episodes.
You just reminded me of where I had a brain fart of the question that I was going to ask you that you said on stage that really stuck with me. You said that, and it was very important that you said this, Mauricio, and because again, this is what I hear from Twitter, and I want you to speak on this. It is more beneficial for you guys not to have liquidations than to have liquidations. And you actually broke down the numbers. Thank God you said that, because I would have forgot that question. And it was a very important question, because I love when you spoke about that on stage when we did that ad hoc conversation. So could you talk a little bit about that? Because that's part of that's like on Twitter, I see that as like kind of like part of like this narrative. It's like, oh, they want people to get liquidated. And you had a very good response. You're like, no, we actually don't want people to get liquidated. You broke down the economics of it, the financial aspect of it. You actually want people to keep their loans, and that is actually more beneficial to you guys. So can you break that down? Because that was one of the narratives that's been being talked about, and I loved how you broke it down on stage.
Yeah, 100%. So at Ledn, our incentives are aligned with our clients, the borrowers, right? Like we make money on the spread or the interest rate spread between what we lend the money at and we borrow the money at, right? So we make money while the loan is open. Ledn has no liquidation fees, right? Like we don't make any extra money when you're going through these liquidations and your loans get closed. We work very hard to earn your trust so that you come to Ledn when you need a loan, right? And you work with us and you keep your loans open. We believe that, and we've seen this in our numbers, right? Like if you're a client that has 2 Bitcoin with us and you started working with that in 2018, right? Your loan capacity was very small relative in dollar terms because you had 2 Bitcoin at $3K each Bitcoin. Fast forward to 2026, right? Like your 2 Bitcoin right now have a pretty sizable borrowing capacity. So at Ledn, not only do we want you to keep your loans open over time because that's better for us, but we believe that if you can use the product right and you can benefit from the product as Bitcoin appreciates, you are going to, be able to do more business with us in the future with that same amount of Bitcoin, right? And so not only do we want to make sure your loans, are as protected as possible, we want to make sure you have a great experience with this loan, because we believe that even if you stop needing the loan in a year's time, you might need a loan in 2 or 3 years from now. And at that point, you'll be much more successful if you kept that Bitcoin. So we want you to have Ledn top of mind. And for that reason and many others, like, we don't want our client loans to get liquidated, right? Like, it makes very little financial sense for us, and certainly makes very little strategic sense to have a client that could have been a multi-million-dollar opportunity for us in 10 years don't have a great experience and decide that these loans basically take a break from these loans, or because they didn't use the tool right, the product didn't work for them. So we want to make sure you're using these things correctly so that you can come to the other side, not get liquidated, because that's not the outcome we want or you want. And you can grow with us with that same Bitcoin. Because if we let you keep that one Bitcoin, today that's 100K or 70K. 10 years from now, that can be $1 million, right? And so that's a great thing for our business if we can keep your trust and continue doing business with you until such time. And I think there's this sort of belief out there that companies want to liquidate you to take your Bitcoin. Like, we're not buying. If loans get liquidated, Ledn doesn't keep any of that. This is literally just de-risking the platform so that we can settle the loans that have basically gone into default by not having enough Bitcoin, and ensure we keep the integrity of the platform so that we can protect everyone else that's borrowing with Ledn. So we are aligned with your loans not getting closed. We are aligned with your loans remaining open, because that's also more beneficial for us from a financial perspective and from a strategic long-term value of a client perspective.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I totally mentally farted that when we were talking about it earlier. I'm so glad that when you were talking, you reminded me to ask you that question, because again, that was one of the conceptions that you see, but it's like, no, your guys' incentive is actually to keep your clients happy, for your clients not to get liquidated. So they actually they keep being a long-term client. You guys don't actually have a lot of upside if there's a liquidation event. It's obviously just to protect your guys' business, right? Ultimately. So anyways, Mauricio, it's always a pleasure having you on the show today. Guys, like the show. If you guys liked it, subscribe, of course. We appreciate you all. It was a killer show. We hit 800 live viewers on YouTube alone. In a bear market, it's not that bad, Opti. Maybe I'm jinxing it. Maybe I shouldn't say that.
Volatility's good.
Volatility's good. But anyways, if you guys enjoyed today's show, you know what to do. Smash the like button. Consider subscribing. All of that good stuff. Go check out ledn.io. Use the promo code in the description, because if not, I get in trouble. And shout out to Mauricio for coming on the show today. Thank you, Mauricio, for joining us.
Always a pleasure, guys.
Stick around for a little bit. All right, guys, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Take it easy.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.